Hey there crew, it's Mark. Today we're going to go ahead and flip through my Swatch notebook that I just finished up. I literally just put my last one in here. This was a little tiny notebook we got from the advent calendar from Arch and Olive 2 years ago. And when I first saw this little 4 by 3-inch notebook, I really didn't know what I was going to do with it, to be honest. I'm not going to write in it. I wasn't going to use it as a pocket bullet journal or anything like that. And eventually I decided that I was going to use it as a swatch book because the size just felt right. To set this up, I had a lot of different options. I have these Everyday Explorer stamps that I really love. They have all kind of like fun fountain pen ones. And I thought about using some of these stamps in here like brand and color and things like that, but it really wasn't doing it for me. I really wanted the ink to shine. So I did have this other one here from Currently Inked, is the name of the collection from Everyday Explorers, and they had just like a brand and name one on here, and I thought that would be nice and easy because I wanted to try to do something with my ink swatches. There's a lot of different ways that you can swatch inks. I've done them before, which is using a brush, using a pen, using a spoon, but this one I wanted to do a different method, which was this little kind of like Rorschach looking deal. Essentially, all I did was take that sheet of paper, and if you want to do this for yourself, you can. It works especially well with any type of shimmer inks, but all you do is you just take your ink, take a little pipette. You actually don't even need a whole lot of ink to do this. You drop some on your page, and then you just take a sandwich baggie or a piece of plastic, and you smush it around. And what's super cool about this method is that as it dries, you get different looks. And of course, every sheet of paper is going to work a little bit differently. This isn't the only place that I like to swatch inks. I actually have a whole ink swatch collection that I've done here, utilizing the same stamp that I had inside of here for brand and name, but used one of the little stamps just to put them inside of here. But this is a really great way for me to showcase. I created a lot of reels using this notebook and inks, and I thought today we could just go through it and talk about some of my favorite ink swatches and the colors that are in here. There are going to be a lot, so I'm not going to be able to name every single one of these, but I'll do my best inside of the descriptions as we go through. And if you see anything you like, definitely let me know. So the very first one that I did, I was like, you know what? I want to do shimmer inks inside of here because they do look so incredibly cool. So this one was from Colorverse. It's called Mystic Mountain. It's a really nice blue color. I love the way this looks. I've used this a handful of times inside of my bullet journal. Nothing too crazy, but I really love the way this shimmer isn't like in your face, but yet when you get that light on there, it looks really good. This is a part of that same collection from Colorverse. Now this one's called NGC 1850, which is named after, I believe, like a constellation or a group of stars or something like that. It gives off the shininess and I really like it. And this I have definitely used before. I just love the blackout and this cool shimmer that's inside of here too. Horsehead Nebula, part of that same collection. Now I don't use this color as much, but I think my favorite part of this is just how shimmery it is. So if you like shimmery inks, this might be the one for you. And then this was another one. I have a little mini of this. This is called Gluon from Colorverse. And again, a very interesting color with that shimmer on there too. Some of my favorites, honestly, look so cool. One of the biggest things I've done inside of here is actually use this for Ferris wheel press inks, even like the one we just did before, because Ferris wheel press, in my opinion, has just some amazing shimmer inks. I am a part of their Jubilee program, so I get inks every single month to try out, and it's been pretty incredible. And not every single one is my favorite. You know, I've actually given a lot of inks away and done samples and things like that for others just because, like this one, Radiant Rosewing, not a color that I would typically use, but I think it did look really cool on the paper. This one is Harlequin Dream. I think possibly one of my favorite inks. Now, this one doesn't have any shimmer. This is a part of like their normal collection, but I really love the way that this ink looked because when you put it down kind of heavy, you do get a little bit of that shading going on. Of course, now I am pressing this on the paper and I'm rubbing it around, but I just think that this swatch is probably one of my favorites and a really cool dark blue ink too that you can use. This is Knitted Nettle. This is another one where it's like this really interesting color combination where you've got, you know, this dark green, forest green, but then you have this shimmer that's kind of hanging out right on top of it, which is like very different. You know, it's kind of like these polar opposites of like dark and foresty, and then you've got this little hint of shimmer that pops out inside of here. This was Aurorealis. This was one, what was this, a year ago or so, I think, where they came out with this one. Again, a really nice royal color. And then you've got that bright, like magenta shimmer that's inside of there too. This is the Sherry Sonata. Now, this one doesn't have any shimmer, but this one definitely has some sheen to it. Now, what sheen is kind of the color that lays on top of the ink. And everyone does a little bit differently. And sometimes you can see it. It's not shimmer, but it's called Sheen. So we might call out a full of those. I'm not amazing, honestly, at like calling out like little bits and pieces. There's some other just amazing people online that just like know everything about ink, and I'm kind of feeling like a noob still. I really love it. I like to use it. I love to talk about it, but I don't know about like all those little intricate details. Now, this one was from Monteverde, USA. This was a color changing ink. So you put down the red ink and then you went over top of it with this color changer. It was like a clear fluid, and then it turned it to this color, which was this yellow color here. I feel like originally when I used this, it was a lot brighter. It kind of died out a little bit after some time. This was from Wearingeul. This is one of my favorite colors, Peter Pan. I mean, you just look at that and you go, yeah, that's Peter. He's there. This is TikTok Croc from that same collection. This has probably been one of my favorite inks. I've used this so much. I gifted this one to Jess when I gave her first fountain pen. She still hasn't changed this color out of her fountain pen because she likes the color, but I think she's also scared to change out fountain pen ink. It's not that big of a deal. This is from Colorverse, so Bluish Green. It says exactly what it is. Again, you can see some of that sheen here, a little bit more just laying right on top of that ink. It's not overwhelming, but you do see little flecks of that inside of here. Dancing Time, Ferris Wheel Press. I honestly don't think there's a lot that's like very interesting about this ink. I don't know if it was a bad swatch or it's just kind of it, but you know, they're not all winners. Maybe someone will like it. I just personally didn't think it looked great. Unlike this one here, which was Emerald Gardens, like talk about in your face and ready for the holidays, right? Like this really worked out beautifully. The shimmer is all over the place. It kind of pulled right here on the edge, which I think personally made it look pretty dang cool. This was Bayou Berry Mist, an interesting color. Again, no shimmer or anything like that on it. A little itty bitty bit of sheen on here. Not necessarily my perfect color choice, but like I said, if they're sending me inks, I'm gonna swatch them because there is some Bayou Berry Mist people out there who really like that color. This one was Billowing Blush. This is like such a light pink, but like bam, a whole lot of shimmer on there. I find writing with this one to be interesting because you don't get a whole lot of like saturation on the paper. It's actually quite light, so you rely a lot on the shimmer to kind of bring that color out. This is Valiant Blue, another favorite of mine, very royal looking. The shimmer looks so cool in the light. And what I love the most about this one too is that when the shimmer doesn't really pool in here, you get just like little tiny flakes of it. So even if you aren't like a big shimmer person, it's nice to have like little bits. Like sometimes the sun will catch that and you'll be like, I like the way that looks. This is Terracotta Canyon. This one's another one, a really great shading ink, so you don't have any of that extra shimmer in there. You know, I have come to realize for myself that I'm not a big shimmer person. A lot of people don't like it because it can clog up your pens, but you can always clean them out. But sometimes I just like not having shimmer or anything extra in here. And I felt like this is like a really nice orangey color, something a little bit different than I'm using every single day. This was from Colorverse. It's called Vortex Motion. I feel like in other notebooks, this ink looks really good, but it kind of looks a little dead out inside of this one. Like nothing very fancy about this on the page, but I think that's just kind of what happens with it. This is I don't know how to say this one. Methuselah Grove. I think this is part of like their Martian collection or something like this. A little bit of sheen on here that you see, but I like this one because it was just a dark color, wasn't bright in your face, and sometimes you just don't want that. This is Colorverse. This is Ham number 65. Oh, you know what this was? I got a bunch of minis. That's what it was from a stationery store, and I was just swatching the little ones just so I had them out. That was before I created my other swatch book here, but looks okay, and a really cool sheen that was in there too. Subtle, but looking kind of neat. This one here is from Diamine. This was Yuletide. I think I got an extra just from a sample swap or something like that and swatched it out. It's not, you know, something like Yuletide you expect to be like really holiday-y, wintry. I think it has a nice cool color to it, but nothing too extra, which I honestly really like. This was Lead Cast Letters, another one from Ferris Wheel Press. This is very subdued, very classic, kind of antique-y looking. No shimmer, not a whole lot of sheen in there. I don't know if I even consider that sheen, maybe just shading. And then you have kind of the opposite here, which is a really nice dark color. This one does have some shimmer inside of it, which I really appreciate. I always love when, you know, you kind of mix these really nice, elegant colors. I don't know the right word to kind of call it, but like they just work really well together. I think that's why people who make ink are true magicians. They know exactly what works well together and can experiment and see what looks nice, because this is a nice color that you can write with, and it's not overly flashy, but you'll catch little hints of that gold that are in there that are really cool. So Curious Woods, Ferris Press, loving that one. This past year was a big year of green for me, so anything that was green or teal or kind of falls inside of that spot, I was a monster fan of. This one was so interesting to me because it dried really light, but where you had a lot of this shimmer, it was like concentrated on there. That's the thing about these swatches, is that, you know, depending which direction they might be going or where some of that ink ends up laying, it can look a bit different. But I really like the look of it, but something that I might do for my next swatch book, which we'll talk about once we get through all of this, is perhaps doing like a small writing sample inside of here as well. It's great to see these beautiful swatches and, you know, the way the ink looks on the page, but I think something that a lot of people are looking for is, what does this look like when you actually write with it? So that'll be something exciting that I'm looking forward to adding in the future. This next one's from Dominant Industry, Atlantis, one of my favorite colors. This swatch doesn't even do this color and this ink justice. Like, this makes it look very boring, but honestly, it's one of the most dynamic and cool looking inks that I think that I've gotten in the past year. Just love it so much. Then it's Friend. This is another one from Dominant Industry, and I will never say this correctly. I'm always bad at it, but Les Volantes et Entrant. I think it has something to do with water. You tell me in the chat if you know what it is, but this is probably one of my favorite colors. I know I have a lot of favorite colors, y'all. I'm sorry, but like, this is why I have so many inks in my collection, is that you see an ink like this and you're just like, wow, like it's beautiful. It looks good. It has these really kind of dynamic pieces to it, especially with some of that shimmer. And honestly, it's another great ink to write with. It looks great on paper, even though it looks a bit light here. When you add in some of the shading and definitely that shimmer, it really brings this ink to life. Wolf Point was from Colorverse. This is actually an exclusive color from Atlas Stationers, where you can get a lot of these inks from Atlas Stationers. And I'll put some of my favorite shops down in the descriptions for you all as well, in case you do see an ink that you like and you want to get it. But this was an exclusive that they did. They're in Chicago. Their idea was to get this looking like the water over there in Chicago, and I think they really did a great job. The base color is fantastic. Adding in some of this shimmer on here really brings it to life, like I talked about before, and I really overall like it. And obviously something different happened with this swatch. I must have did a different technique, because all the other ones are like the blotchy ones, and this one turned out kind of square / rectangular. So who knows what I did on that one? Something a bit different. Little Miss Jubilee. This was a Ferris Press one. This is bright. This is in your face. This is, like I was saying before, not a color that I would typically use. I do have to find some other things to do with my inks, especially the ones I'm not going to use a lot. I love giving away samples and things like that, but honestly, there's a lot of ink in these bottles, so I need to figure out something different. I think it's beautiful, not one that I'm normally writing with though, but really love the way this one turned out. This ended up looking like some type of like toxic insect or something like that. But again, I love the color on this because it's so different. This is Festival Grove. This has a little bit of everything in it. You get this like wild base color. You have a little bit of sheen in here. You have the shimmer. It's kind of doing all the things. And one of my favorite parts about this ink is that when you do write with it, you see a lot of this variances in the ink, which is super fun. And it's also like a vibrant color ink that you can write with. A lot of times yellows and things like that don't always look great on paper, but that one does. Ambrosia Indulgence is another really nice one. This is just a really cool base color, and the way that this looks and like swirled here in this sample just are so cool. So another one I need to start using a lot more. I have it, it's just like I don't always grab for those. I always grab for my usuals. Time to make some of these my usuals. This is another one of my possibly favorite inks of last year as well. This is Quantum Teal from Birmingham Pen Company. So for myself, this is probably the best example of a sheening ink that I have. This isn't shimmer that's on here. This is sheen. So that's a color, kind of like a magenta, dark pink, that lays on top of the teal color that's here. That's super dark. But writing with this, same deal. You write with it, it's dry, you come across it later and it has this sheen. It just looks so cool. And this such a cool looking swatch. This one turned out really neat. This is Water Bear. So this is another one from Birmingham Pen Company. This ink is interesting because what it's supposed to do is, depending on the light, it's either like a lighter color or a darker color. And I think if you hold it on some angles, you can kind of see some of that. Where I hold it here, it looks lighter, but if it's not catching as much light, it starts to look a bit darker, not just because it's shaded, but because the light isn't directly on it. So it's an interesting ink. I think I've written with it once or twice. I think the story behind it was cooler than like actually how it looks, but that's just me, just an example. Another one from Birmingham Pen Company. I tend to get these in like collections when I get them. So I, probably got like these 3 inks all together in one. So I wanted to get them all swatched out here. This is just something a bit different. Nothing overly special about this. No sheen, no shimmer, just a nice earthy color. All right, so this is Copper Carnival from Ferris Press. This is actually not a fountain pen ink. This is calligraphy ink. So it's an acrylic ink, and this also has some shimmer inside of it too. These are the things you're filling out cards with. This is something you're writing a letter for, you're doing your calligraphy work with. This is all dip pen. Brushes, I think, is what I used to get this on here because a fountain pen wasn't it. It just lays down on the paper so much differently than ink, but still looks really cool. All right, this is Mulberry Majesty from Ferris Press, another really fun one. Some juicy colors, some shimmer in there, some sheen, a little bit of all the things happening. Serpentine Blooms, this was an interesting one, mostly because of how it dried. You get a little bit of the shading here, but I love how the shimmer on this kind of created little droplets on here by itself. You do have little bits of it throughout the rest of this color, but I love the way this one looks. It almost looks like artwork. I think a lot of these honestly look like artwork to me. Oh, did I not do blue suntan? Oh my gosh, I never swatched any of my Amaryllis Stationery. Well, I'll have to come back and add that. That feels like a big miss on my part. All right, this is Blue Revelry from Ferris Press, another one that I really, really liked. I think the reason I liked it so much is honestly, it reminds me a lot of Valiant Blue. And sometimes in the ink community, we do talk about how, you can rename colors that have a lot of the same features on it. I'm not great with colors, if y'all don't know that. So like this one definitely is a little bit darker, but it's very reminiscent, right? I think you get a little bit of different type of shading on here, but it reminded me a lot of it. It's a fun one to write with. It looks great on paper. But yeah, it reminded me of that other one a little bit. That'll start to happen, I think, over time, especially when you get certain colors. This one is Lures of the Lock. Nice green color, some shimmer inside of here. Nothing too wild or crazy, but I really do like this color. A lot of the greens are my favorite. I should really start writing with them a lot more. This is Wayfinder Slate. This is another one that dried really interesting. This one has a really nice slate color, and then you've got like these really thick pops of this shimmer and probably a little bit of sheen in there too that makes it look like it. It almost reminds me of like gold foil or silver foil that was around the edge of this, how it dried. Granite Guardians, another one, has this really cool look to it, but that sheen, that shimmer that's in there just a little bit catches just ever so slightly. This is one that I definitely have written with, and I love writing with it because it's not too extra, and it also is a nice, different than just black ink. This is Colbot Estates, another one that reminds me a lot of like the blues, right? Just without the shimmer on it. This one has some sheen in there, though, as you can see on there. So little variances in color and additives to the ink. All of them are a little special. Whispers of Twilight. This was a really fun and moody ink color here, and that shimmer on top is just wild. Lantern Crossing. I actually used this in a pen, and I really like the way that it wrote. I think that base color is really nice, and then every now and again you get these little darker bits as you're writing with it. Made it much more interesting than just writing with like a basic ink that week. Lost in the Leaves. This is just a nice dark fall color. I like it a lot. Definitely have to bring this one out in a few weeks when we start to hit more of that fall time. Highland Smoke, another one of my more recent favorite colors. It's dark, it's moody, it's not too extra, but has some really cool little textures to it when you're writing with it. Starlight Stories. Starlit Stories was a recent one because we're almost here at the bottom. Again, you're talking about just like wild, almost holographic feel to this one when you're in the light and writing with it. Blows my mind with these different shimmers and the things you can do with it. This was Catnip Cafe. This is a very recent one. You've got some sheen inside of this, but really beautiful. I wrote with this just recently, and it looked really good on paper. Makes me want to use it a lot more. Citrine Mirage, this is brand new. So this is right here at the end of my book from Ferris Press. A lot of people love this color. Every time I've swatched it or done anything with it online, I've used it and people really like it. It's a little bit light when writing with it, but when you catch some of those darker tones and a little bit of that shimmer, it looks good. It's just one of those things where like I like really dark ink on paper. This is Currant Crumble Pie. This is one of those colors, again, where like I wouldn't necessarily use it all the time, but you can't deny that this is not just absolutely beautiful. It's got this pool of shimmer that came down here. The gold shimmer just kind of sprinkled throughout here, just like a nice little like lacquer of shimmer on here, which I really like. And then this is the last one in here. This is from Vanness. This was a mix. And then the last one we had in here, God, isn't this just a glorious looking color? This is called Oh My Stars. This is a collab between Vanness and Robert Alster. And I don't really have any better words for this. I think that if you were to mix my favorite colors together, as well as putting some shimmer inside of it, this is it. This just feels majestic in the best possible way. It feels official, but with fun. And that's what I love about all of my different inks. So that was everything in this book. I don't know what I'm going to do with this book now that I'm done with it. It's one of those things where like I like to keep it as a resource to look through, but also a lot of those colors, you know, I've been building inside of these swatches as well so that I can see them and get to them and, you know, put them in alphabetical order when I'm looking for something. I also have an entire digital catalog with all of the colors as well as swatches in there too. So if I'm looking for certain colors or can't really remember or saying, oh, I want a blue ink with gold shimmer, I can put those into my filters and figure stuff out. So there's a lot of different ways that I'm swatching. I think a digital is great because I have that on my phone and I can take that with me anytime I'm at a pen show or at a stationery store and looking for new inks or trying to figure out, you know, what colors do I have most of? What do I need more of next? So when it comes to what I'm going to do next for my swatches, I'm going to continue this way, but I do need something different so that I can use this for different type of content because the Ferris wheel inks are still going to come. I'm still going to buy my own inks, not as a part of any affiliate programs. And so I have to figure out what I'm going to do. One of the options that I've been playing around with was using one of the Night Owl planners because I didn't use all the pages and it's a dated planner from 2024. And I've been playing in the back of this one a little bit using, you know, different types of stamps and figuring them out because the paper works really well with it. But the problem is that I can't just like solo one out the way that I did inside of this notebook. I like that each color has its own page, and on here this is really nice and I think it looks beautiful, but I feel like I'm not really building anything special with it. I'm writing with it, which is great to have a writing sample, but at the same time just kind of on it. I also don't love, you know, that when I stamp down and then place the ink over top, it like really bleeds through the page. We got a little bit of that in some cases with some of the inks, but it never bled through. It was just kind of ghosting on there, like almost coming through. I don't think anything went all the way through, and some didn't go through at all, which was great. But this one just like irks me just a little bit. So I've been playing around with this option. I mean, on top of that, I've also been building out this year, which is an ink journal, you know, where I'm writing the pen that I'm writing with and the color that was inside of that. I've been doing that since January, and this paper works out really well. This is paper from Me Plus, and I really like the way it works, but I feel like I have kind of the same issue here, which is it's not as flashy and cool, and I'm not making like really neat reels with something like this. I feel like it's nice to track the pen and the ink that I've used together, but I'm not getting the love of this. So some options might be to use another pocket notebook. I have pocket notebooks that I could potentially use. They're a little bit bigger than this, and I think that's okay. And maybe that's the space that I need. It's a little bit bigger than this little tiny one, but what's great is that, you know, I can bring out these papers here and just insert them in here. The problem is that I don't know that it's going to hold as many sheets as this one did just because of its size, but I haven't tried it yet, you know, and I don't know. I've got a lot of different options here and I'm not sure but I'll be sure to let you know when I actually figure something out. Maybe we can set it up together and talk more about what that swatch book idea might look like at the end. But in the meantime, I'd love to hear from you if you have a swatch book or you have any other ideas on things that I could potentially do with it. I've definitely loved this little notebook while we used it. It's been a lot of fun. I kind of wish that I had another one handy, and it's funny because I really didn't know what I was going to do with it when I first got it, and then it ended up with like a really beautiful purpose and came in nice and handy, and a lot of people liked it anytime that I used it online and swatched with it. Like, where'd you get this little tiny notebook? And I was able to say, oh, I got it from Archer and Olive. I didn't think I was going to use it, and then I found a great purpose for it. I mentioned a little bit ago that I also have a digital way that I've been swatching my inks, and if you're interested in learning more about that, I'll pop that video over here for you so you can check it out. Using Airtable and making it for yourself, it's pretty fantastic. I've been good about keeping it up to date, and honestly, it's a fantastic resource. All right, friends, I'll talk to you next time. See ya.